We live in a space where we always are talking about the problems that African Americans have when it comes to accessing dollars to grow our businesses. We know for a fact that we're not necessarily getting the necessary money when it comes to venture capital funds. I mean, we can go on and on and on when it comes to that very issue. And so we talk about a lot on this show because the reality is, if you don't have black businesses, then you're not in a position to be able to grow and build wealth. In honor of Black Heritage Month, Amazon, LinkedIn, and the Michigan Employee Resource Group for Equity, they've teamed up with the nation's largest equity crowdfunding platform, Start Engine, to host a global panel discussion to showcase the inspiring journeys of 5 black founders who have raised as much as $1 million in capital from the crowd on Start Engine. We've, of course, featured other folks, Isaac Hayes and others who have raised money via crowdfunding campaigns. And one of the folks is Don Dickson, the founder of Flat Out of Heels, a company that provides rollable ballet-style flats that can be used as an emergency flat and one for everyday use. Yeah, a whole bunch of y'all who go to Essence Festival probably would love to hear that. Now, the Black Founders Forum, which takes place Thursday, will include a Q&A and address the topic of equity as it relates to access to capital for black and brown founders. Joining me now is, to talk about her journey, is Dawn Dickson. Dawn, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing, Roland. Thanks for having me.
All right, glad to have you here. So, again, for people who don't understand, when you're trying to grow a business, you're trying to build a business and all of that, it's harrowing, especially, but when you do not have the ability to be able to access capital to grow and build, people don't understand. You simply cannot do anything. You're stuck in a particular place.
This is exactly right. And, the expectation of black people to bootstrap, figure it out on our own, or come to investors with an extreme amount of validation and sales before we get an investor is definitely unfair to us. And so I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years now. You mentioned my company, Flat Out of Heels. I've had that company for 10 years. And the company that I'm actually raised capital with on Start Engine is called Popcom. And we're a technology company. And what I found that when raising money for a tech company, it was easier, but the journey for raising capital for me over these 20 years has definitely been very interesting. Lots of winding roads there.
And walk folks through that. I mean, how did you arrive at the point where you say, you know what, the crowdfunding platform, this is better as opposed to the traditional way of raising money?
Yes. So for my first couple of ventures, I just raised money from friends and family. I've started 5 companies and 4 are still in business. For Popcom, which is just a tech company, a software company, we raised our first $1 million from venture capital and accredited investors after we finished a program called TechStars, which is a technology accelerator. And the experience that I had as a black female founder coming from the Midwest, coming from Ohio, and not in Silicon Valley, not from Stanford, not from Harvard, not from the good old boys, good old girls club, it definitely was different, And so I said, I really want to raise money in a different way. And several of my mentors who are also founders advised me, if you can find another way to raise capital, you should explore that so you can get more traction and more sales before going to institutional capital. And so the Jobs Act, which started in 2012 by the Obama administration, didn't come into effect till 2016. So as soon as I was able to use that and leverage the crowd in my community to raise capital, to me, that was just, there was no other way for me to go. I knew I wanted to leverage my community and give my people an opportunity to get access to early stage company like mine.
Let me bring in my panel here for questions. Bree Newsom, I'll start with you. Any questions you have for Dawn Dickson?
What is the greatest challenge that you face? I mean, obviously, we know that, access to capital is a systemic kind of barrier. So how do you kind of approach dealing with that? And what recommendations would you make to other people who are confronting the same challenge?
I always call what we're experiencing, even over the past 5 years, the civil rights movement to access to capital, because there were so many things put into place, into law, including the law in 1933 that prevented non-accredited investors from investing in early stage deals. And so these laws were put into place, and they're really systematic things that kept many communities from being able to generate wealth, especially generational wealth, because when I researched how people get wealthy. It's from inheritance, investments, and entrepreneurship. Well, we know we couldn't really invest because we weren't allowed. We couldn't inherit things because we couldn't own anything. And then for entrepreneurship, you see what happened on Black Wall Street. So for me, the challenges came with just breaking down those barriers and keeping moving forward despite all the statistics that say we can't raise money, despite all the odds against us, because someone has to sit in the back of the bus of raising capital. Someone has to go ahead and do the things that are hard so that everyone else can have an easier path.
Quadricos, question for Don Dickson.
Hi, Don. So this is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm certainly going to look you up after the show. But I wanted to know, as I think about this broadband access issue, right? How are you using what you have learned through the steps of establishing your own business to teach, really, to pay it forward and making sure that other little brown-skinned girls have access to capital as well as starting their own business?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking me that. And it's very important to me because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if people didn't pay it forward for me. Many people, as a matter of fact. So I do teach. I write extensively on blogs. I volunteer my time to speak at conferences and events to benefit people that look like me, especially young women. I'm very transparent with my process. I'm always very open. So I have several things out there, like I said, my Medium blog, on my YouTube, on my social. So I share my process. I tell people step by step. I'm also coming out with a book. It's in the process of being written. And I'm going to really just be all the way open and tell everyone the things that entrepreneurs don't want to share. It's the dark times. We're in this like Shark Tank era where everybody seemed like an overnight success, and people don't realize the many years of work and just time it takes to even get the headlines, to even be sitting here talking to you today. I've put in 20 years of work to even do that. So I definitely give back in any way that I can.
Let's go to Xavier.
And Mark, there was a recently released interview with Mark Zuckerberg. He was 21 years old, and he was interviewed, and he asked him when he got his first stage of investment, what his plan was. And he openly admitted that he didn't have a plan. And talk about the difference between you being an African-American business owner, going in front of investment rounds, being completely buttoned up, everything, the I's dotted, T's crossed, and then you're seeing, certain white companies being funded on shoestrings.
Can you imagine if I said I didn't have a plan? I mean, even my plan now is constantly being challenged. So, I don't get caught up in it. That's the only way I stay sane. If I thought about all the times where I could be perceivably at a disadvantage, it would be discouraging for me. And so I just keep my confidence high. And I know that for every barrier, it can be broken down. And there's a collective effort, not just by myself. If you look around at the Black tech scene, it's grown exponentially, and we all work together and support each other, and we make introductions and we build each other up. So I really want the narrative to change from how hard it is for us to raise capital, how hard it is for us to build businesses. Just a couple weeks ago, a list came out. There's about 7 Black unicorns right now. That means companies founded by Black founders that are over $1 billion in valuation. Those times are changing, and I just refuse to even accept that as my current reality.
All right, then. Don, the discussion later this week, when is it taking place again?
The discussion? The one that we're all having with the Founders Forum at Thursday. It's Thursday, and it's going to be a panel of several founders that I know and I've worked with, as well as the Start Engine team, and we're going to just talk about our journey. We are definitely pioneers in this space. I was the first female founder of any race to raise over $1 million in crowdfunding, and since then, I've seen it just take off. And I have a round open now. I'm raising capital in Start Engine again. And so it's just an amazing tool for us.
All right, then. Don Dickson, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And good luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. We're almost done. Let me give a